se ha venido a guarachar. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué sucedió? Que todo el mundo se ha venido a cumbachar. Ahora todo el mundo viene a guarachar. Con el suave ritmo que vamos a gozar. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué sucedió? Que todo el mundo se ha venido a guarachar.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Trash Mix Podcast. So, of course, it's not just me, by the way. It's Joey's here.
What up, what up?
Co-host, producer, magic man here. Makes everything possible. Shout out to Joey.
I try.
Yeah, and today, it's going to be a little different, obviously. I mean, every episode's going to be different. We're not always going to talk about horror. We're not always going to talk about action, dramas, and stuff like that. We're always going to talk about something different. Today, we're going to talk about sex comedies.
Ficheras.
Yeah, or ficheras. That's
Sexy
Spanish.
comedias.
Yep, sexy comedias. Yeah, there we go. And not only are we, it's not just going to be me and Joey. We have a special guest today. We have our good friend, and he does a lot of cool stuff. We'll let him talk about himself. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, everybody, listeners of Trash Mix. My name is Drew Hanks. I'm a friend of Joey and Armando's and a filmmaker and writer based in Los Angeles.
So, can you tell us what you write up exactly?
Yeah, so I've made a feature film that is a sex comedy called The Made Man, and I think maybe that is why these guys thought of me for this episode.
For multiple reasons. I mean,
multiple reasons, but yeah, that's one of them for
I
sure.
think out of everyone that I know, you have a very unique way of dissecting a movie, especially comedy. So I felt like if anyone was going to understand Mexican comedy that's not Mexican, it was going to be you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, by the way. Yeah, he's our gringo pal, by the way.
If the name wasn't a clue enough, you know?
Yeah, he gets a pass, though. Hey, yeah.
Thank you, guys. No,
he's invited to the carne asada, as they say.
As they say.
No, it's a pleasure. Yeah. No, I mean, this was, I've been a fan of Trash Mix for a long time, and lucky enough to have met Armando and Joey through going to films in Los Angeles and the greater, California screenings.
Yeah.
And I always say that Armando will give me movies and stuff. They don't have subtitles, and I'll say I might not be fluent in Spanish, but I am fluent in movies, and so I can
that's all that matters.
understand what's going on. And I'm just absolutely thrilled to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm sure people have heard us tell stories of the Trash Max invasion of Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And Drew was there for the inaugural trip.
Absolutely.
Drew
we won't spill all the tea, but it was a fun trip.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, that was the best. Dallas ruled, and then also the Festival de Trash Max at the Frida was iconic, and I've got my poster framed right here just for
everybody that has a poster
fun keepsake.
Is a good person to me. If you don't have one, I'm sorry. Nah, we're cool. Either way, yeah. So
it's a beautiful poster.
Oh yeah. Hopefully we'll get a part 2. Cross your fingers.
Oh, they've been crossed for a long time.
I'm crossing my toes.
Yeah.
All right. So like Joey said, we're going to talk about sexy comedias or ficheras. And Joey, you want to give us a rundown a little bit on what that is exactly?
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, as every other country does, they kind of they steal, not necessarily steal, but they, I guess, are influenced by genre movies from different countries. And so the 80s TNAs, the sex comedies were very, very popular, and of course Mexico had to do their hands, so they did sexy comedias, aka the real word is ficheras.
Ficheras, yeah.
Which as the gringo in the room, can I ask what that word is and like the sort of historical context of that word, or?
Yeah, I mean I may be wrong here. I guess I should have done a little bit more notes on this, but the ficheras to me was like, it was kind of like it came from the world of like the cabaret girls.
Interesting.
And so a lot of the women that were in these ficheras, these sexy comedias, came from that world of being dancers,
I see.
/ models,
/ prostitutes, because that's technically the term is for prostitute is fichera.
Yeah.
So if you watch some of these earlier ones, like from the 70s, they're gonna be like, oh, she's a fichera. This girl's a fichera. Blah blah blah.
Interesting.
So it's like, yeah, she's a dancer, or she's just a bar girl, but she's also, She offers other services as well.
As long as you got the pesos,
Yeah, exactly. She's not working for free. She's got to get paid.
And so a lot of these sexy comedies, there's a couple names that stand out in this genre, and today we're featuring 3 movies from one director who is probably the most well known out of all of them, I would say.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to get a little historical, it began with the Calderon family, Guillermo Calderon and so forth, his brothers, in the 1970s with Las Ficheras, which, again, same word.
Yep.
That was in 77, and this was mostly stuff involving nightclubs, prostitutes, dancers. Then in the 80s, the sex comedy stuff is still around, same kind of settings, nightclub, dancers, prostitutes. And the guy that we're going to talk about and his dad, they went a different direction with their sex comedies. They didn't just want to focus on that stuff. They wanted to focus on everyday people in Mexico, the working class, the low income, poor people. And the
nacos, as they call them.
Yeah, the nacos, because they do say that word a lot, nacos, which is like, what would it be like?
Kind of like
a poor person.
Yeah, like not low life necessarily, but like bottom tier, like
yeah. Like a hillbilly or white trash, in other words. That would be the term too. Yeah, so a naco. So that's kind of what these people are in these movies. So the first one we're going to talk about is called El Dia de los Albañiles. And albanil is a cement mixer, bricklayer, easy job, low-level paying job.
Not to cut you off, but there's a subtitle to this title.
Oh, yeah. Los Maistros del Amor. And Los Maistros del Amor is the gentlemen of love or the misters of love, whatever you want to translate that to. But yeah. And so this one is different, like I said, because it's not in the bars necessarily or in the nightclubs. It's about these construction workers that just like to fuck around, have fun.
Yeah, the majority of it takes place in a construction site, which is it's a different setting than you're used to for these type of movies.
Exactly.
Especially if you're really into like the American sex comedies, those are completely different. But yeah, so I mean, Dia de los Albañiles is, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Drew, you probably don't know this, but this series was fucking huge in Mexico.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask was like, how, these, for a lot of these kinds of movies as just like an American moviegoer, like they haven't been distributed in the US and stuff. So like the history isn't that, discussed and enter Trash Mex. And this is one of the things that I love about Armando. Yeah. And I was so happy to be able to ask you guys this, but like, what is the knowledge of these movies? Like, would your parents know these movies? Are these like household names?
1,000%.
Yes. You nailed it right there. Yep.
Yeah,
they know.
I was getting that vibe, and to go back to the idea of them being bricklayers and all that stuff, and this idea of me like watching these with some like kind of not the best subtitles for this first one.
Yeah.
So I'm surmising things as they're going about, which I'm no stranger to doing for international films that might not have subtitles. This isn't far from a first for me. What I really got was this sort of Three Stooges like setup. I wouldn't be surprised if that was an influence, at some point, as far as just even a launching off point,
that's a good observation. I'm actually glad you mentioned it. Yeah. Cause the director for these movies is Adolfo Martinez Solares, and his father was Gilberto Martinez Solares, and he was the one that made a lot of comedies like back in the day in the 40s, 50s.
Interesting.
So it's kind of like that slapstick, old school style type of stuff. So it's like, it's like a trio or a duo.
Exactly,
so and all those movies always have people like that, So
yeah.
So I'm glad you caught that on, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So obviously they took inspiration from those old movies and go from there.
It's a great film.
Yeah.
Let's kind of get into the thick and thin of this, right? So, as we said, Dia de los Albañiles 1, released in 1982, directed by Adolfo Martinez Solares, who, as Armando said, was...
Oh, no. It was 1983, sorry.
Oh, 83.
So they filmed it in 83, released in 1984. Sorry.
Oh, shit. Damn.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. It's okay. The only reason why is because I was looking at dates for some of these movies, and I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot this is so-and-so date and so forth. Yeah. But, 83 filmed, 84 released.
Released in 84.
Yeah.
Shit. Dude.
Yeah.
Okay, damn. The internet steered me wrong, yo.
Nah, you're
As Armando said, Adolfo is son of Gilberto, who co-wrote the script with Adolfo for this movie.
they both wrote the movie.
Um,
So kind of to go to quick on there,
Yeah.
Adolfo didn't even want to direct. He was like afraid because he was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be big enough, like like you, Dad. Like he would tell him, like, I don't know if I should. Gilberto was like, no, you gotta do it. You already know everything. You know how to write. You know how to edit. It's time for you to direct. And yeah, sure enough, this was it. This was his chance right there.
And he had Adolfo. Did he have a lot of writing credits before this?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that what I was
Yeah.
looking at?
So basically, when he was in college, that's when he was starting to work in film with his dad. So he was mostly writing, editing, and then some cinematography. So yeah, so he knew how to write already by then. And this was his feature that he wrote with his dad, and yeah, directorial debut right here.
Man, he really delivered for a debut.
yeah.
Yeah,
And especially, like you said, living in the shadow of
The
your
great-
father, who's, I mean, considered probably, I would say, like a top 3 director
Oh, yeah.
in Mexican
he's
history.
one of the ones that pioneered in the golden age. So he definitely knew what he was doing already. But
And
he
people-
was hesitant, like I said. He was hesitant at first.
I mean, I would too. I mean, his dad. So there's a comedian. I guess he'll be more relevant for the Day of the Bricklayers too. But there was a comedian in Mexico, Tun Tun, who was like, I mean, everyone's grandpa fucking loved Tun Tun. Like,
Yeah.
he was genius. So and his dad worked in collaboration with him. Like they were, so, so comedy was not something that they were shy from, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
But
they already knew what people wanted to see and laugh at, or what they thought was funny.
let's name a couple of the stars.
Yeah, let's get with the cast. and
Yeah,
we'll break that down.
Alfonso Zayas, who plays Roberto,
Yeah.
legendary comedian. He's like the lovable loser.
Yeah. Yeah, he was giving me, to speak in these, like, just to make, for all the other gringos out there, if the director is, like, Billy Wilder, then, like, the star is, like, the Jack Lemmon.
Okay,
He is, like, the kind of affable guy who, is obsessed with a beautiful woman and is out of his league, but maybe he's not, and then you'll see his arc in the second. But he's very much the kind of Jack Lemmon of the film.
And he had like almost 200 screen credits to his name.
Yeah.
Probably even more. A
little bit more than that, yeah.
And he, like I said, he's a well-known comedian. He starred in a shit ton of these ficheras.
Yeah, because he was in Ficheras Part 2. Like, that was already the beginning right there.
Yeah.
And then from there, that's when he joined, Adolfo and Gilberto.
Some people might know him too. He was also on Sábado Gigante, which was a huge TV show.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then La Criada Bien Criada, it's like a skit show. A lot of people really remember that show. I was like, oh, I never heard of that, but it's like a Mexico show. But
Like
they're pretty big over there.
Oh yeah, like is it like a Sábado Gigante type of show or?
No, kind of like a Saturday Night Live. I want to say
Okay.
something
So
in
like
that nature.
like a comedy.
just
sketch
just
show.
sketches
Okay.
shows. Yeah, so he's fairly familiar from there.
And a couple other sexy comedies that he was in were like the Verduleros, which is another huge series. Tres Lancheros Muy Picudos, which we're gonna talk about a little bit later. He was in that as well.
He's like the face of Mexican sex comedy when you think about it.
Yeah.
When you think of Mexican sex comedies or fichera movies, people are gonna think Alfonso Zayas.
And rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
Mhm.
I can see
yeah.
it. I can see it right away.
And then we have his love interest, who would be Angelica Chain. How do you pronounce it? Is it Chain?
Chain, yeah.
Downright gorgeous. I mean,
Beautiful
you fall in love with her as soon as she appears on screen.
And you notice they have great chemistry, right? Alfonso and Angelica.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, they actually dated in real life. And that
Boom,
was
there
the
it
thing.
is.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can see it. I
Yeah.
mean,
100%.
a lucky guy because she was. I mean,
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was
downright
him
gorgeous.
and she was her, and
Well,
but
there's
yeah.
this classic aphorism, I think it was Walter Hill, who was talking about like his genre, like his action comedies, and it's like the jokes are funny and the bullets hurt is like the thing.
Uh-huh.
And I think you could apply a similar sort of thing of this, where the jokes are funny and the women are drop dead gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's unbelievable.
for those who haven't seen it, every single girl in this movie is like 10 times finer than they should be for the guy that they're with in this movie.
Yeah.
It's that classic.
There's
that
like-
classic thing.
There's like
and
one.
they
There's, yeah.
nail it.
There's like one attractive guy in total in these movies,
Yeah,
and that's always like the adversary, the
Yeah.
villain or whatever.
absolutely.
But everybody else is, there.
And that archetype is a classic comedy archetype. Like we're talking about like Three Stooges and stuff. It always goes back to that older kind of. I'm sure his dad had similar archetypes in his films, and they casted it perfectly.
Oh yeah.
It translates. You don't need subtitles to see this movie and to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And so a couple movies that she was in that people might know, just to kind of give everyone a little bit of a breakdown here. She was in Santo y Blue Demon versus Dr. Frankenstein, which is like a
Oh yeah. I
classic.
forgot she's in that one.
yeah, she's in that one. And I mean, tons and tons of the ficheras as well. She
Yeah,
was
she
known for
was
being in
very big
a
in
lot of
those.
these movies. And then we have and her character's name is Beatriz. So I'm sure
Beatriz,
we'll
yeah.
start calling her by her character name. But and then the other lovable, I don't know if he's lovable loser in this because Luis de Alba's character Juan Camané he's like the Stifler of these movies. Like
Yeah.
you fucking hate him, but he's also kind of funny.
Yeah.
He's how can you describe Juan Kamane? I mean, he likes to say it's just the guy from the streets. Yeah, he's just the guy from the streets. He's just there.
He's
hanging around.
Everyone knows a Juan Camané.
Yeah, he's just there. He's barely working, but he has a job.
Mm-hmm.
He's always trying to pick up on girls. Trying to find ways to make money, stealing. If he has to.
And succeeding and failing, in
Yeah.
great ways.
That's the funny
each
part,
time
yeah.
it's funny no matter if he succeeds or not.
Yeah, very popular actor too. He's probably the one that's still alive too. Actually, Luis de Alba.
Yeah, you saw him not too long ago, right?
Yeah, I saw him back in November, and then like 4 years ago before that too. Yeah, he was super nice and everything. He's very old now and everything, but he's still doing comedy shows.
Was he wearing his Superman T-shirt?
No, but
No.
he did have that Chilo shirt. He plays Juan Kamene all the time, even though he's old and
awesome.
everything. Yeah, he's still Juan Kamene.
We gotta get a reissue of the Chilo shirt.
I know. I've been
Yeah.
wanting to make one, but I just always forget to do that. Eventually I'll try to make some. Yeah.
And so the villain in this movie is played by Miguel Angel Rodriguez, who plays the architect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Total scumbag in this movie.
Mhm.
Very young in this movie, so
Super young.
But super young, and he has almost 300 credits to his name.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
around this time he was just like doing dramas and like a little bit of a comedy stuff,
Okay.
and always playing like a villain or just a serious character. It wasn't until like the mid 80s is when he became an action star
Gotcha.
in El Judicial.
And who we can't forget El Chiquilin.
Oh yeah, Gerardo Zepeta Chiquillin. So yeah, he was actually a famous wrestler at one point, and then he went to acting. And I mean, if you've seen enough Mexican movies, especially like American co-productions or European co-productions, he's in them.
Yeah,
You'll
he's in
recognize
tons of
him
things.
in Night of the Bloody Apes. He's the Ape
sir,
Man.
Mm.
And yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff.
Tons
Night of a
of
Thousand
stuff.
Cats.
Yeah.
He's in that one too.
Yep.
Oh,
Mhm.
nice. We get another Night of a Thousand cast member in the
Yeah.
second film, I believe.
Yeah, there we go.
Everyone's favorite
That's
in
true.
there.
And
Yeah.
the third film, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, let's talk about the movie a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
let's break it down.
So first off, I want to say this movie was it clasificado D,
I believe so. Yeah,
which again, can you tell the listeners again? So D was like
that's like the R rating.
the
basically.
R-rated movies,
Yeah.
right?
The strict
I
R rating.
hope it was rated
Yeah,
R.
it was the strict R
Or
rating.
D.
Of course. Yeah, it's the R rating. It's not the NC-17. It's the R rating. Just barely though, because
I mean, if this was given a comparable NC-17 in Mexico, it'd be understandable because
Yeah.
I mean,
it
there's
even then gets
nudity in almost every
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah,
that's-
but I will say, it is. I mean, it's tasteful for what it is. It's not.
yeah,
It's not in bad taste.
it's in very good taste.
I think the version that I sent you. So I sent you two different versions.
Okay.
The first version I sent you that had those like terrible AI subs.
Mhm.
That cut off the first I want to say 15 seconds of the movie. Then the second one that I sent you.
Uh-huh.
The first 15 seconds, it's pure just the first thing you see is titties.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
it's-
The
It
opening.
is front loaded.
Yeah.
I noticed
Yeah.
with all of these movies, it
That's-
seemed that they really put in a lot of the
Yeah.
more heavier nudity and sexual scenes up top.
Just the way it starts. I mean, you get the opening credits.
You
and
set the
it's-
bar
yeah.
high. You know, like, you gotta-
Yeah. Opening credits, normal songs playing, cities of Mexico City, and then they get to the construction site, and there they are, the construction workers and the maids, fucking, just
then and
fucking each
there.
other,
Right then and
dancing. It's like, okay, this is the movie. This is the, it's already starting off great.
Yeah, it starts off with Rosy, who was played by Rosy Mendoza, who in the movie is the cousin to Reynaldo, who is El Chiquilin. And I guess he's like the foreman of the.
Oh no,
the
the cousin is Ana de Sade.
Oh, was it Ana de Sade?
Ana de Sade is
Okay.
the cousin. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and she was like,
she's beautiful.
yeah, she's downright gorgeous, and
Oh,
she's
yeah.
there with like all her. Well, I guess they're all her friends because she was there with them. They're all
Yeah.
getting down, like
Yeah.
they're naked, and
Yeah.
dudes are just like, eh.
Yeah.
These are just the construction workers. Keep in
Exactly.
mind. And then some of the maids, again, lower class jobs, people,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
fucking around, having a good time.
And then, sorry, no,
go ahead, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna. Then the foreman shows up, if I'm not mistaken, and they
Yeah.
all have to vacate the premises.
Yeah, the cousin
tells
comes.
them tells them to get to work, and I guess because Rosy was supposed to go out and buy all the material, and so I guess that sets it up, right? So they don't have the materials to work because you have a slumlord as a foreman, right?
Right.
He's an asshole, doesn't give them the equipment they need, so they're fucking around. They're hooking up with the girls and shit. And then he
Yeah.
gets on her like, "Hey, what the fuck? Go out and buy the damn cement. What are you doing?"
Pinches cachondos, así es como trabajan esos hijos de la chingada. ¡Quítate! Bueno, ¿y qué? ¿Tengo la cara de pendejo o qué? La próxima vez que me vuelvan a cometer una pendejada de estas, los voy a correr a todos a patadas. ¿Qué? ¿No les da vergüenza? El cara obra y el cara cuadra dejan a todas las gatas panzonas, cabrones. Y hablando de panzonas,
¡Ay!
díganle que me ven.
¿Y yo qué?
¿Y yo qué? Bueno, ¿y ahora qué? ¿Qué cuentas le voy a entregar a su padre? Ya supe que está embarazada, ¿o no?
Uy, qué rápido. ¿Y cómo le hiciste? Si yo todavía ni me entero.
Pues ya ves, a mí me lo dijo Cholo en la portera. ¿Sabes qué? Te doy hasta el domingo para que me digas quién fue el güey que te desgració, ¿eh?
¿Y cómo le voy a hacer? Si yo ni siquiera sé quién fue.
No sea payasa. Ya le dije, hasta el domingo. Y ahora váyase por el material que le encargué. Pero la de ya.
Bueno, ya voy.
And that's when we have the first death of the movie,
Yes.
where the drunk guy commits
Yeah.
suicide by jumping off the roof of the construction
he's
site.
drinking.
Which was a
Yeah.
well shot jump, I would say, and fall. I think they masked his they masked the falling fake body very well,
yeah.
if I'm remembering correctly, in a way that isn't normally done. And it's a very actually I worked for a guy who's a producer here in Hollywood. He would say every now and then they would be looking at something, and he would say, "I wonder how the Three Stooges would do this." Because believe it or not, they would cheaply find very effective ways to film physical gags. And I think this is a great example of a physical gag that like is done in a creative, innovative way that I haven't seen it masked that way. There's somebody in the mid-ground who blocks the actual fall, and it's much closer than you would normally be for like the usual body drop, and it's actually at eye level, as opposed to like either looking down from an eagle eye or like, right there when it falls. So yeah, I mean, again, like this is clearly a guy who's been on set like 1,000 times in many days of his life.
Exactly. Yeah, they knew what they were doing for sure.
¡Se va a dar en la madre! Yo sé lo que le digo, bájese de ahí, compadre.
¡Que me baje!
Ahí viene, ahí viene. ¡Mátalo!
And then we get introduced to Alfonso Zayas' character, Roberto, who's kind of already on the streets panhandling. And
with his uncle.
Exactly, with his uncle, who's like the co-star of the movie.
Yeah,
And
that was Borolas, and just to keep it short, Borolas, the comedian actor, big time actor for Gilberto Martinez Solis back in the day. Every movie he was in, so this is like not new.
he had like a
And-
recurring
And
role.
he this is the roommate.
The uncle,
Right.
The
yeah,
older
the-
man.
They
the
live
older guy.
together
Yeah,
with the main character.
Yeah, that's
he
his
makes
uncle.
him the eggs.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
uncle. Yeah, Borolas.
That dynamic kind of gave me like Odd Couple vibes. Like,
Yeah,
it was
funny.
a fun
Because they're technically related, but they're so different, you know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it was like the panhandler, which would be Roberto, and then his uncle was like, he's like a serious kind of like already washed up, like, come on, let's just get to work, let's get this money, like the typical like older man who just wants to do his job, wants to be invisible, and then go home. You know? And then of course we're also introduced to Angelica Chain at that scene with Roberto, and her name is Beatriz. I don't know. I guess that kind of sets up the whole dynamic for the Albaniles series is right then and there, because that's when he sees her for the first time and like kind of starts to like, hey, what's up, girl? Like tries to court her in his own little quirky ways, I guess you could say.
And then she manages to save him, because remember they were stealing from the supermarket.
Oh yeah,
So she saves him, and then
she pays for the merchandise.
That's right.
And she even gets them a job at the construction site. She's like, oh, I work, serving food for these workers. I'll get you a job there.
And they're like, he's like, yeah, fuck it, all right, let's go. Yeah, his uncle's like, yeah, we need work,
Yeah.
we need work.
Ese llavero se le cayó. ¿Por qué tiene llavero?
Ah, ¿qué?
Se lo juro.
¿Qué pasa? Víctor, cierra la puerta, que se están robando la mercancía estos señores.
Cierren las puertas, pues que va a haber gallos.
Pues sin querer, se lo juro,
Ay,
la primera
tío,
vez que
vámonos,
me pasa.
este se está poniendo muy feo. Mejor vámonos.
No intenten nada, señores, que tenemos muchos empleados con ganas de hacer ejercicio. Así que, por favor, tranquilitos.
Pues, ¿qué te robaste, mano?
¿Yo qué? Tú fuiste el que me aconsejaste.
Devuélvanme las
Ya
cosas.
nomás, hombre.
Lupita, los señores son mis primos. Déjalos ir.
Ay, Beatriz, no te la jales. ¿Cómo van a ser tus primos estos pelados piojosos?
Yo respondo por ellos. Por favor, Lupita, no seas malita. Hazlo por mí.
Bueno, está bien, pero llévatelo rápido antes de que venga la policía.
Gracias. Ándele, vámonos. Ayúdenme a cargar las cosas.
Llevo el gancito hasta
¡Órale! Canijos estos. Parle sinvergüenzas. Gracias, Lupita.
Sí, que te vaya bien.
Gracias.
Ah, pa' primitos estos.
¿No les da pena andar robando? Deberían de ponerse a trabajar.
Ese es el problema, señor. Que nadie nos da una chamba.
Buscamos y nadie nos da trabajo.
¿Que ustedes no son de aquí?
Pues mire, sinceramente no somos de aquí, ni de allá, ni de más acá, ni de más allá, pero estamos tan amolados que ni casa tenemos.
No, pues si ganas de chambear no faltan, señor. Pero todo el mundo nos pide cartas de recomendación.
Bueno, ¿me prometen portarse bien si les consigo trabajo?
Claro que sí.
¿De veras?
Sí.
Mira, allá donde chambeo necesitan albañiles. ¿Saben hacerlo?
Y albañil, oye.
Mi tío es media cuchara.
Y este es cucharón, le hacemos a todo.
Muy bien, pues ya tienen trabajo.
Vamos a trabajar.
De acuerdo,
También
vámonos.
tenemos piedras en el riñón.
Yeah, before that they were just doing like, what is it, like a Aztec dance or something? Remember, like a,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
they call.
yes.
God, I can't believe I can't remember the name of the thing. But yeah, it's like the traditional,
Like a traditional thing.
where they're flowing in circles around.
Oh,
Well, that's
yeah.
in the second one, right?
No,
Or
this is the one. Right
the-
here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's-
okay.
it's-
I'm remembering the
They
poll.
do that in the
They
second
do
one.
that in the second one, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're in like the
Yes,
full garb.
of
and
course,
everything,
of course.
Yeah.
And that's when he first sees her, and he kind of like
Yeah.
dances to her. And then, yeah.
And then we get the quick cut into the introduction to Juan Camané, Luis de Alba, who, again, is like the I get the easy way to say it is that he's like the Stifler of the movie. So he's kind of an asshole. His first scene is like he's basically he lies. Oh god, it's hilarious. He lies to a girl saying that he's like the mover to help him out, and he just basically wants to mack it with her and like starts grabbing on her tits.
Yeah,
and stuff.
he gets two jobs in one. You know? He gets to fuck around with the girl, and he gets to steal shit. You know, 'cause that's what's so clever. It's like, damn, he pulled it off. He didn't pull off one thing; he pulled off two things.
¿A poco tú vas a hacer la mudanza?
¿Qué pasó? ¿Cómo yo? La van a hacer mis secretarios particulares. ¿Qué no ves que tus patrones me encargaron a mí la chamba de la mudanza?
¿Y desde cuándo eres cargador?
No, pues es que tengo que chambear lo que sea para juntar unos billetes para que tú y yo nos podamos casar con ese cariño que nos tenemos día madre.
No lo puedo creer. ¿Y todos pensaban que me iba a quedar para vestir santos?
No, pues ni más. Hablé con el juez, hablé con el policía, hablé con el otro licenciado, hasta con el cura.
Ay, pues les voy a avisar a mis papás para que se vengan del rancho.
Suave.
Y a la abuela Josefina. Y a mi hermano Filemón.
Ay, a tu hermano Filemón. Tengo un chingo de ganas de conocer a ese güey. Bueno, pues Al agasajo, ¿no?
No, hombre, primero papeles.
¿Cómo? Ya es como si fuéramos esposos. Ya somos esposos. Somos como Carmela y Rafael. ¿Cuándo chingados necesitaron Carmela y Rafael papeles para agasajarse? Cuando mucho una canción y ya. Órale, véngase.
And you know the thing that I noticed in the first movie was that the comedy, there's a lot of verbiage like, and where the comedy kind of intertwines with being a construction worker, right? So it's like, you know, nailing, hammering these chicks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I don't know, I feel like that was kind of, I mean, I'm sure it was intentional, but I feel like it works really well with how the jokes are said in Spanish and how they kind of, you know, play out in the scene and stuff. I don't know. I thought it was pretty genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had not the best subtitles for this first one, and I you know, comedy is one of those things that it is so, you really have to know the culture to understand it. Even if you have good subtitles for a film that comes from a specific region, some of the jokes might fall flat. It happens with dramas all the time. Like I think Ozu is like a classic example of, you might be an American viewer watching an Ozu movie, and then all of a sudden you're halfway through and it's this kabuki theater performance for like 20 minutes, and you're like, why the fuck is this lasting so long? But yeah, you could really tell that they were it was all there. Yeah, the second film, Joey did some really great subtitles, and I could more of that. I even wrote down some of these lines. I'm very excited to talk about them. But
yeah, and unfortunately, the version that I gave Drew to watch was I had to scour the internet for it, but I found like a Russian website that had like subtitles for it, and I was like, well, this is. I mean, at the time I didn't have the program to subtitle it myself, so I was like, all right, we're gonna have to do it with this. And as soon as I put it on and I burned the subtitles into the file, and I was watching it like, what the fuck? I even texted Armando like, I don't know if Drew's gonna understand any of this shit, dude.
Yeah.
I definitely followed it, but I wasn't able to appreciate like the stuff that you just mentioned. But it pleases me to know that is there.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely there. And then we kind of run into like one of the, I guess the central theme of the movie is where Juan Camané gets kind of tricked into hooking up with a girl, because he's such a horny guy that he's like, I'll hook up with anybody. And then that's when you get Rossi that sees him as like the little chump that he is, and she basically cons him into believing that he's the father of her unborn child. She's currently pregnant.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of sets up like the hijinks for the rest of the movie.
Totally.
I don't know.
That I was able to pick up on. That's one of those things where it's like, you know, if you're fluent in movies, you will be able to discern that he's being hoodwinked.
and that kind of builds into, I mean, we'll go into albaniles too late, a little bit after this, but that storyline bleeds into the second storyline for various reasons. I think him and El Chiquilin Reynaldo, they have like a heated past, so like they hate each other. Which I don't know. I like their story, but not as much as I like the Roberto and Beatriz story. Like
it's like a romance and very erotic too.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you're not getting half a chub at least while you're watching these movies, there's something wrong.
Like they're
down
both
there.
very into each other, and so you do see them, you know, in the action of sex, you know.
Yes.
Well, yeah, Roberto finally gets Beatriz to like, you know, go on a date, I guess, you know, and he takes
with
her
stolen
to like
clothes. Remember, he doesn't even have nice clothes, so he steals clothes from somebody. Like he grabs a suitcase with clothes.
Well, doesn't his uncle dresses him up first or something like
that?
Yeah,
from that suitcase. So he's like, oh yeah, you just wear this. And I was just like, oh my god.
And so he takes her out to dance, and I don't know if Los Infiernos was a real dance club. I assume that it was. I don't see why they would change.
Yeah, it looked like a real club. Yeah, from what I can tell.
But that was always that was a fun scene too. And again, that's kind of like the beginning of their romance. So she finally gives him his shot, and he, you know, like we said, he's a lovable loser. Like he wants to do good, but he also just fucks up everything that he touches. So it's like,
yes.
And in that scene, there's a what are they called? Los Únicos de Colombia, right? That's the group in the first one.
Memo Munoz y su Nueve de Colombia. Yeah, they also come out in Lancheros muy Picudos
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Yeah, so they're in that one scene in the club.
Yeah,
performing.
that's a fun scene too. You know, you a lot of times like people listen to Mexican music. Of course, like we talked about in episode 2, you have corridos, rancheras, and stuff like that. But like cumbias and stuff like that, like those type of songs and that type of music too was really really big in Mexico. Yeah. So I don't know. It's always nice to see that type of I guess shift, right? Because I don't know how well taking her to a club to do like a standard like disco or something, you know. I mean, I guess it would happen, but it's always nice to see something a little bit more cultural.
Yeah, it's a little different.
It was also tastefully like within the movie. Like it wasn't sometimes with any kind of movie they all of a sudden are like, all right, and this is the part where we do the musical act. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the characters wind up at a club, but then all of a sudden it's like 3 minutes of a musical act for no reason. But that wasn't the case here. Like it all fit dramatically within
they're all just dancing, having a good time.
Yeah.
And then that's where he gets into a fight with the architect.
Yes.
Yeah, because the architect likes Beatriz. He wants her. Mm-hmm.
Why would?
Yeah, who would?
Yeah. Well, actually, the funny thing is he didn't like her at first, remember? But then he sees her at the club. He's like, "Oh wow, who's that? Like, she looks great."
Yeah, she had like a blue satin dress.
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And then the Chiquilin's character, he's like, "Oh, that's Beatriz." And then that's when he's like, "Oh, I want her."
Tráemela.
Yeah. And then they get into a fight.
Yeah.
But she sticks to, Roberto,
He like I said, man, he's the lovable loser.
Yes.
It's like he tries and tries and tries, and he does right, but he's also just a goon, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really flesh out his character in the second one.
Yeah. And there's also following that there's like cool shots so obviously this movie was shot in Mexico City.
Yeah.
Because he takes her dancing in Xochimilco on the river paths there.
Oh yeah.
Which was a really nice scene too. That whole area is, I don't know if you've been to Mexico City, Drew.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so Xochimilco, there's like a really nice there's like waterways around, and people just go on boats, and you'll have like floating vendors or people following you on different boats trying to sell you food, or they'll have like mariachi on a band on a boat, like flowing next to you. You hook them up with 100 pesos, and they hook you up with a song and stuff. So
yeah,
amazing.
You get the Mexico City experience in this date scene.
Totally. And
I unfortunately didn't write the song down, but it's like a cheesy romance song.
I wasn't familiar with that song.
Yeah, me either. But it's just like so cheesy. But it goes so well because it's a comedy.
Yeah.
Just being corny.
And so I guess that kind of sets up like the ending, or not the ending, but like the final act of the thing, when they finally discover what's why this work site is kind of a hostile environment. We end up learning that the architect has been poisoning the pulque that Beatriz has been serving all the workers.
Yeah.
And I guess that is the callback, at least to me in my eyes. This is how I saw it, was that that's the callback to the drunk on the top of the roof.
Yeah,
who ended up didn't actually commit suicide. He was he was drunk and fell off the thing. But I mean, I guess I'd have to go back. I should have rewatched it. But I believe he was talking, like he was so drunk and kind of mumbling. But I would like to believe that he was telling them, like, I guess he figured it out and was kind of trying to say something.
If I recall, I think he was trying to say something. Yeah, something was going on with that drink.
And of course everyone knows, Mexicans, we well, I don't drink, but Mexicans in general, we love to get drunk. And,
yeah.
And so I don't know. I guess that kind of leads to the ending of the movie, right? Where we find out that the whole scheme was insurance fraud. That the architect was basically killing workers off so he can get new money and basically pocket the money. And there's like a whole fight scene with Roberto and Juan against
the architect.
Yeah, the architect and Reynaldo.
And by then, the architect stole Beatriz from Roberto.
Right.
So there's just so much going on in that, yeah.
And it's a very, compared to the sequel, it's a very straightforward kind of comedy tale, like as far as like the plot is concerned. And of course there's like wonderful, bizarre gags and physical comedy and sex comedy and all of that. But it is one of those kind of, there's probably a Three Stooges short that's very similar to this setup and wrap up and everything like that. but yeah, it's really beautiful to see how this sort of palette of characters and plot and ennui like evolves into the sequel, I would say.
Yeah, and that's a really good segue into the sequel, which would, of course, is Dia de los Albañiles 2. No subtitle for that one.
No subtitle, unfortunately.
Personally, I think this one is better than the first movie.
It has more qualities for sure. Yeah,
the director he definitely. It was really fun to watch. I watched all 3 of these movies that we're going to talk about today in the same day. And if there's anything that I love seeing a director and a writer-director for that matter evolve and mature. And there's nothing more disappointing when you watch 2 and then you see the 3rd one and it maybe it falters. But that was not the case with these movies. His voice and his confidence only matured like throughout his filmography and that, I mean, I'm just speaking on these 3 films that we're talking about, but I would say it is that classic thing of like, we set up the characters in the first one, and in the second one, we're not. It's less Three Stooges. It's more just bricklayers. You know, it's more confident in like this is who this character is. We're gonna put him over here. We're gonna do this with him. We're gonna put him through the ringer. Now that we know that he's like this, or like, he was such a straight-laced, lovable loser. What if he's a fucking schmuck in this one? You know what I mean? And that's the joke, you know, because you saw the first one, you loved it, and now he's going to be a punk for a little bit or something. You know what I mean? Like,
I fucking love
they
that scene.
really, really understand the characters enough, and I'm sure they probably had a lot of people talk to them about what they loved about the characters and stuff like that, and it really shows. It really shows.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think the characters finally, as you said, they kind of evolve into themselves because now they don't really rely on each other as much in this movie. They all have their own, storylines or whatever, and then they kind of come through in the end to band together to defeat the villain or whatever. But
another villain here.
Yeah, and,
what a villain!
But this villain is a little different, from the last one.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the same general concept, written. By Gilberto and Adolfo.
So technically, this one, it's Gilberto that's credited as director, but Adolfo still directed it. So the thing with this movie is they directed it, both of them, obviously. But what Adolfo told me before is like, me and my dad, we would just separate. We would film scenes with these group of actors. He would film with this group of actors, or sometimes we would just combine, ourselves. So this was a dual-directed movie, technically. That's awesome. Gilberto gets the credit for some reason,
Probably, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the context is, but he is credited though, technically. But it was Adolfo too, for sure.
Yeah, you do this scene, I do that scene.
Yeah, they adapted into that. That was kind of their partnership from there.
That's
minus Lancheros. Lancheros was just Adolfo.
And so, of course, we get Roberto back in this movie. We get Beatriz back in this movie. Juan Camané. Reynaldo comes back to this movie. But we get 2 pretty big names coming into this movie. Oh, yeah. The first one, people would know Hugo Stiglitz. Hugo Stiglitz.
Cue the slaughter music. Cue.
Hugo Stiglitz. Now, I purposely didn't tell Drew that he was in it because I wanted to see maybe he would be surprised that he was in it.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, classic guy. I mean, and then we also have the entrance to the Albaniles series with Tun Tun.
Yeah, Rene Ruiz, Tun Tun, yeah. For those who don't know, he was a very big but very little guy in comedy.
We can't we in English we don't say it anymore, but enanitos, right? That's
he was a little guy, little
dwarfy. But yes, I mean he's a classic comedian as well. Like he was in show business way before this.
Oh yeah, way before. And again, he was one of Gilberto Martinez Solares' guys.
Gotcha.
So back in the 40s and 50s, he was in those movies. Not so much the 60s. It's kind of like he was just doing his own thing, and then it wasn't until this movie he kind of came back again. Yeah.
Interesting.
And I guess, I mean, I think Tun Tun was kind of a play off of Tintan, right? Like they were trying to build like the mini version, the small version.
Yeah, that was
of Tintan.
that was the thing too. But then I'm also hearing it was based on a song called Pasito Tun Tun. Like it's really hard to tell where the name came from. But either way, it all fits in, you know.
Yeah.
Because he was already working with Tintan in those days.
Okay. And so the premise of this one is a little bit different. I mean,
it's almost the same.
It's almost the same, but
but a little different.
Yeah. It's enough of a difference, right? So the second movie revolves around a serial killer who's killing prostitutes in Mexico City, and at the same time, you know, the bricklayers, the Juan, Roberto, and now Tun Tun, are, you know, going through their own personal struggles with love and with work. And so the movie opens with a scene where, you know, all the sex workers are outside, you know, picking up their clients and stuff like that. And then one of them gets picked up and is murdered. And then we immediately learn who the killer is, which I wish they would have not divulged that until like later in the movie. But
it's one of those things where it's like when you know who the cast is, you know who the killer is gonna be.
Yeah,
That is true. Yeah.
For the listeners, the killer is Hugo Stiglitz.
So,
and if you know who that is and you haven't seen this movie, then you knew he was the killer.
Yeah, so he's the architect in the, you know, for the construction site.
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
Yeah.
And he just happens to be the killer.
And I guess we kind of learn why he kills later in the movie, but it was kind of a stupid reason why he was like, it was like a half-ass like
yeah, it's
reason
pretty
of why he
vague. It's
killed,
like
it's a very we're working backwards here.
Yeah. Exactly. So it opens up. He like I said, he picks up the girl, whatever. She's cracking jokes about he has a small little dick, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Man, fuck you," and just fucking just stabs her in the stomach, and then, you know, boom, albaniles too, you know, ready to go.
Déjenme verlas bien.
A ver cuál escoges.
La de rojo.
Ching. Qué bonito carro, mi amor. Y además, qué cuero estás, papacito. Contigo, mi alma, soy capaz de darte cachuchazo. A ver, ¿qué tienes aquí? Bueno, ni modo, mano. Lo tienes re chiquito. Pero no podía ser perfecto. Oye, era broma. Por favor, no te enojes. No lo tomes tan en serio. Lo importante es cómo lo hagas. Lo demás es lo de menos, cuate. Está bien si te diviertes así, luego me compras otro, ¿no?
But I don't know. I think this movie, the comedy to me lands better.
Yes.
The story is a lot more full.
Oh yeah.
The characters, like we said, they're more, they understand themselves a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you know, they all get second chances, which is always nice, you know.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, the first one feels like like the originator or like the proto, you know, of what they launched off of, and they just took it and ran with it. Is what it felt like, and it's a blast. And yeah, this one, Joey made some really great subtitles, and I was able to like really understand the minutia of the language, which like made me enjoy it even more so. Not only did it have all of these things that were so clearly working in its favor, but then to really know the language was it was a big plus, and it was a really great viewing experience.
My dilemma with adding the subtitles, and I had spoken to Armando a little bit about this, was like, do I translate it like, exactly what it's supposed to say, or how do I find a comparable English translation to the jokes? Because some of the jokes don't really translate to a joke in English, and there's a line later in the movie where Juan Camene's talking to his girlfriend, and he's like, soy como un teléfono, bueno, which technically it just means I'm like a phone. I'm good. Yeah. It's like, how do you I just made it the literal translation, but I was like, I don't know if that joke is gonna land in English.
That was actually gonna ask you about that line, because I was just like, what is the or like, was there a context of phones that I don't understand?
Yeah. So in Mexico, when you answer the phone, you just say bueno.
I see. So it's like, it's up.
Yeah. But translating, I don't know. It just didn't work. But I mean, there's some of the jokes I did translate. I found a pretty decent translation for it. So
I wrote some of them down. Could I say a couple of these
absolutely.
real quick? So somebody shows up. I'm trying. Maybe it was. I can't remember the context of what happens, but basically there's like a plot point that happens in front of the son character.
Oh, I know.
And he says, "Fuck, shit just fell in the milk." And that's like, in English it'd be like, "Shit just hit the fan." But that was just one of those beautiful things where I'm like, wow, there must be a beautiful way of saying this that is just,
for full transparency, when I got to that part, I had already been sitting there translating for like, I don't know, maybe 12 hours.
Yeah.
I was like, I just don't care enough to try to find out. I'm just gonna start fucking
saying it. That was amazing.
Just make it make sense.
Another one that I loved was obviously no fat shaming. I'm a chubby guy, but one of the characters says, Juan, I think he must have put too much sour cream on his tacos.
So
they're great.
So in Mexico, when you tell someone that they're putting, le estás echando crema or salsa on tus tacos, that means you're exaggerating.
So it's just that's just saying like, you're
embellishing something.
So he's a liar.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought the translation would be hilarious too. So I'm glad you brought that up. Because I was right again, and again that was later. So I'm like, damn, I was just like, I gotta get these fucking subtitles. I gotta send Drew this movie tonight. But yeah, dude,
that's great. I was wondering. I like that more than it being a fat thing, just about lying. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so as you guys can see, the comedy in this one I think is a lot better. But the movie it opens with Roberto, who's cheating on Beatriz now. So like Drew said, he turns into an asshole in this one.
Yeah, and what's great about this is we don't know, if I'm not mistaken, we don't know if they're still together yet. It's just him in
it's like a tortilla shop.
Yeah. And he's like putting the moves on a girl, and maybe putting a little more than just moves on a girl. But
he's adding crema to his tacos.
Yes, exactly. And he's saying, "Oh, my wife is dead."
Oh yeah, he was lying. He was like lying to her.
But we don't know if he's lying yet, because it's the beginning of the sequel. But you kind of know, like, I bet she's gonna show up, and lo and behold, she shows up.
Oiga, y aparte de administrarle el negocio, ¿qué tal si le administro el corazón? Güerita, usted necesita un hombre que la cuide.
No, hombre, no le. Y luego hasta casado me resulta.
No, fíjese que soy viudo.
¿Viudo?
Viudo. Hace 2 años perdí a mi mujer. Estuvo 6 meses agonizando en el sanatorio. Estaba tan fregada que la comida se la daban en mamila. Me tuve que aventar 1 año sin poder voltear a ver una mujer.
¿Por fiel?
No, es que me dio tortícolis y me quedé así.
No le digo.
No, de veras, he sufrido mucho, güerita.
No, sí lo comprendo. Pero con el tiempo se le pasará.
¿Usted cree?
Sí, señor. Y encontrará a alguien que lo entusiasme.
Pues entusiasmado estoy. Soy experto en el nixtamal, masito. Estoy abriendo el mixote.
and so that's when she tells him, and it sets up the rest of the movie because he keeps fucking up.
Yeah.
He gets deeper and deeper into the hole, but she basically tells him, "Hey, man, listen, I love you. We're married, but if you keep fucking up, like, I'm out."
Yeah.
And there's a scene where he's like, "I'm sorry, I will change for you," and then they kiss. And then there's like a hot girl walking by them, and he's just like looking as he's kissing her.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite scene. I was like, that's so me. I just saw myself into that scene. I was like, I know that feeling.
She's like, I'm not even gonna look at another girl.
Yeah.
She goes, really? He goes, I promise. And
They
he starts
kiss.
kissing her, and he
Yeah.
turns her into 180 just to look at her.
Looking
walking
over
by.
her shoulder, and
Yeah, just gives you the hint. It's like he's not gonna change.
Roberto, es que ya estoy cansada. Todos los días me llegas tarde y además borracho.
Ay, por 3 días que me fui de parranda con mis amigos, no seas exagerada.
Corrígete, Roberto. Yo no me casé para vivir así. Yo te quiero y te quiero mucho. Pero por favor, no abuses.
Mi amor, te prometo solemnemente no mirar a ninguna mujer ni de reojo.
¿Me lo prometes?
Te lo juro.
yeah, and which is a really, really fun, like, I will say it's not easy to make that jump for like an established character to be like, and now in this one he's going to be this way. The obvious thing to do would be just keep the archetypes who they are, and we'll just use this. We'll just mine the same joke material for like these characters. But I think it says a lot about these guys to push it where they did, and I mean it's where you want it to go. Like I'm not saying it shouldn't have, but it takes a lot of confidence to be like, this, he's going to be this way now. It makes for a really good watch.
And I think that it also kind of differentiates itself from like the American counterpart, sex comedies, where those guys were strictly like, I want to get laid, do anything, get laid. These fools actually have, they're like that. Don't get me wrong. I guess some would even go as far to say that these movies are problematic, but they actually they learn something. Like you said, they have a full arc. They start, at one point, they reach a certain point, they become the asshole, and then now he has to work his way back into getting his trust from Beatriz. And, so I don't know. I mean, I think it's a lot different than those generic sex comedies where the guys just want to fuck and we're doing drugs and they don't care about the consequences.
And it's fun because then they're casting him against type. Is like the easiest way to put it. But there just so happens to be a previous film where he was playing the type that he is fit for.
Exactly.
So it's a very fun way of going about a sequel. It's kind of like a role reversal in a little bit of a way, but also it's like the first movie rehash. It's kind of like the T2 treatment, if you will. It's just bigger, better, and all those things that you get with a classic sequel.
And then, the classic sequel, you add another character, like we said, Tun Tun. And I thought his introduction was
that was perfect. That was perfect. Yeah.
He rules. He rules.
One of my favorite jokes in the movie was the sexual revolution joke.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, he's like, supposedly he's like injured. He's like on a little, what is it, like a little...
I was injured in the
what
revolution.
Is it? Yeah, he's like in a little scooter, or what is it, like a little wagon or something?
I don't even know.
Supposedly he couldn't walk, so he's like blind. He can't walk, supposedly.
Yeah.
And this girl's like, oh, what happened to you? And he's like, oh, I was in the war, in the revolution. She's like, what revolution? The sexual revolution.
Sexual revolution. and then he goes, fuck, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, no, he says... He's like, yeah, you should have seen the beating my wife put on me. He's like, that's why my legs don't work anymore. Oh, my God.
That's when he runs into Alfonso Zayas' character, Beatriz. Yes. And he's like, oh, compadre, like, oh, my friend, I haven't seen you so long. And then all of a sudden, that's when he gets out of that little scooter, and then the girls are like, "Hey, he's not crippled, he's not blind."
Call the cops.
Yeah, the cops come to chase him. And
and they do the undercranking Benny Hill type stuff, which they do in the first one. And then he
pushes the little wagon, and the cop slips on the wagon.
And then Roberto hits him with the safe.
There we go.
Ayuden a este pobre hombre inválido y ciego que perdió las piernas en la revolución. Ayudando ganarán el reino de los cielos.
Oiga, ¿en qué revolución peleó usted?
En la revolución sexual, señor. Mi vieja me agarró con la vecina y viera la chinga que me puso. ¡Compadre! ¡Roberto! ¡Compadre!
Compadre, ¿qué hubo?
¿Qué pasó?
Uy, compadre, de por sí era usted poquito y ahora es menos. Pues, ¿qué pasó?
No le puedo decir ahorita.
Óigame, ¿no que usted estaba ciego?
¿Qué se me hace que ni está inválido? ¡Regrésele mi dinero!
Yo no le regreso nada.
Hay que ir a buscar un policía.
Sí.
¡Policía!
A ver, pinche compadre, nomás vino a regar el tepache.
Pinche usted que nació encuerado, mire.
¿Es aquel?
¿Ese?
La chota, vieja. Safe.
Oh my god,
Oh, yeah,
that
was-
whole scene. Just
that
had
whole
me
scene was perfect. Yeah.
dying.
That was a great scene.
There's the thing about comedy. I love comedy, but I don't really laugh out loud at comedies. And some of the jokes in this had me fucking busting the
Yeah.
dude. I was dying laughing.
Yeah.
I was laughing out loud the whole day watching all three of these movies. Like absolutely, these are funny movies and they've aged well. Yeah, problematic, of course, but
For its time.
you
yeah.
know, it was a different time, different place, you know, and I think yeah, they make really really great watches.
And so from there, we you know, the story kind of starts, right? So when they get back to the house, we learn through the news on the TV that Reynaldo has now been released from prison from the previous movie.
Yes.
Because there was lack of evidence to pinpoint that he was the killer, when in fact it was the architect who was killing everyone. So now it's like, all right, here we go. Now we have Reynaldo back in the story. Like, how is he gonna fit into this story now with Juan Camané and their little rivalry there, right? So, I don't know. It's cool. We get introduced to Fernando, Hugo Stiglitz's character again, his real character this time. So now we learn that he's the new architect at the new construction site. And same setup, right?
Yeah.
Beatriz is now going to get invited to sell her whatever chilaquiles or whatever at the construction site,
And he takes a liking to her, just like the other guy did.
Why wouldn't you, right? He's like at the top of the construction site, looking out the window and sees Roberto, Tun Tun, and I think Juan Camané comes in right there too.
Yeah, they're all right there. Yeah,
And he's looking at her like, "Who the fuck is that girl? Like, I want to talk to her." And so he hires the three idiots so that he could hire Beatriz to work at the construction site.
And like the hiring person immediately waves the guys over, and then Hugo comes in and waves her over.
There's another funny joke right there too, where he's like, "Are you guys bricklayers?" And I think Juan Camané hits him with the like, "Yo soy he's like, "I'm a plasterer," I think, right? And then,
I think so.
And then they call Tun Tun a media cuchara, which I mean it doesn't really translate to English that well, but no, motherfucker, I'm a sculptor. And he was like, "What do you sculpt, man? You know, look at you, little ass." But yeah, so and then Juan Camané, of course, back to the same antics. Now he has a new love interest. It's not the maid from the first one. Yeah. Now he's in love with a punk girl.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But he's following somebody else.
Oh yeah, he finds another woman. Yeah, it just happens to look like Beatriz.
Yes.
Only with red curly hair.
Strikingly similar.
Oh yeah.
You would think that they were cousins or twins or
twins.
Something. I don't know.
Something. But yeah, he takes a liking to her and he's following her around.
Híjole, mi amor. Ya siento que te quiero. Me cae. No sé cómo le voy a hacer, pero vas a hacer para Miguelito. ¿Qué? ¿Creéis que te iba yo a chingar tus cosas? Pues no. ¿Qué pasó? Nomás te estaba yo carneando. Caray. Espero que entiendas que para mí este es un sacrificio de madre. Ay, güey. Julieta, la modelo más sensual. ¿No va a chingar, modelo? Bueno, esta sí me la llevo. Ay, por si acaso se ofrece jalarle el pescuezo al guajolote. ¿Guajolotón? Bueno, periquito. Me cae que no le voy a decir a nadie que te vi encuerada. Nomás a Roberto, al enano, al monote, al chanclas, a babuchas. Esos güeyes son rediscretos. Nos veremos muy pronto, mi amor.
That had another funny montage scene where when he was following her to the it's like he gets humped by the dog.
Yes.
He's trying to hotwire a car and he burns his hands.
Yes.
Just so much goes on just so he could try to reach this girl. Yeah.
It had a body double stalking vibes.
Yeah.
That's good.
In the mall a little bit.
And then he like slashes her tires, like hoping that he will be able to drive her home and shit. I mean, you know, Juan Camaney, man, what an asshole. He's like the Stifler of this movie. But, he's kind of like the center of all the comedy too, though. Like the obnoxious comedy falls onto Juan Camaney.
Yeah. Yes, the more raunchy kind of.
There you
stuff.
go, raunchy. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. And so there's also a scene in this right after that where Tun Tun and Roberto go to a brothel.
Oh yes. And then he's got a girl, and then they find a girl for Tun Tun.
That was hilarious. The guy walks in like, "Hey, it took a lot of work, but I think I got you what you were looking for." And then in comes a
little woman. And then the guy that brought it, that's Adolfo. He made a little cameo right there. Director cameo. Yeah, that was him.
Was that him?
That was him.
Yep. Oh shit.
Yeah, he walks in. He's like, "Enano." He's like, "Little man." He's like, "It took a lot of time, but I found your woman. Perfect for you." And then he walks away. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, that's."
He was like
Adolfo.
trying to jump onto the bed. Like, how do I get on this bed? Like, what do I do here?
He's so tiny, in that little in that room, and then he manages to get a girl.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's the I'm trying to like get my thoughts together here, but yeah, he shows up after that. Like, damn, like, Beatriz is gonna be pissed, man. Like, you've been out all night, and that's when we learned that Beatriz has finally had it.
Yeah,
Roberto fucked it up.
Yeah.
Him and Tun Tun are drunk at that time, but they're
they come back the next morning.
They're so drunk, and then the house is empty. Beatriz is like, "I'm leaving you. It's over."
She left a note.
Yep, she left a note, and he starts crying. He's like, "Who's gonna take care of me? Who's gonna cook for me?"
Tun Tun says, "I will."
Yeah.
Right? Or something great. Or I don't know if I can put up with your stuff or something like that.
You hit him with the I'll do everything she did for you. He's like, but I won't be your baby bottom.
Insinuating I'm your mouth, or I don't have the hole or something.
I think that's what he said. Yeah, in other words, he said say something in that nature.
Yeah. Tun Tun rules.
And so, I mean, Beatriz leaves him for Fernando again. Same as part one, right? She leaves this fool for the architect, but this time Fernando is like the conniving, serial killer, man. He's not.
Yeah, what's interesting is they do a good job of like making her choice justified. Like it isn't something that in some of these movies they kind of shoehorn it in like early on, like, "I'm leaving you, too much of your bullshit." Like it kind of like. You wouldn't just leave if you really love somebody as much as we know she does. She wouldn't just leave him for like being shitty one night or something. Like he really hits rock bottom a lot.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's justified for her to leave. And then also Hugo's character, other than what we know, obviously he is the killer. He is a good guy. Like he has been good to her and like isn't like scummy necessarily as much as like the guy is in the first one, and so I thought that was like really, really tastefully done how they didn't make it just like an easy fuck this guy, they're the bad guy, she's acting incorrectly here, or like it was very tasteful.
And then like earlier on he even tells her like, like, "Why do you like him? He's a naco, like he's trash."
And then he is pushing the buttons.
And then they show them, and then they're just a bunch, they're just acting stupid, and then she's just like, "I just think he's amazing,"
Yeah.
So it's like she was really into him, but then he fucked it up, So
did she say something like, he's like, "Yeah, I guess love really is blind." Or
there we go. That's right. Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah.
So he was already like establishing himself, like, I'm the better choice. Like, why him?
Fernando, no sé cómo agradecerle todo esto.
No se preocupe, Beatriz. Lo que importa es que usted esté bien. Y que esto sirva para que se dé cuenta de que soy verdaderamente su amigo.
Muchas gracias.
Además, tengo un negocio de materiales eléctricos que necesita atención. Y he pensado mucho en usted.
Claro que sí, cuente conmigo.
Casa nueva, trabajo nuevo. Desde hoy su vida va a cambiar.
Trataré de que así sea.
Bien. Por lo pronto, me despido.
Buenas noches.
So eventually, she leaves him for the architect.
And well, now we learn why he was,
and then why
why he was pushing her buttons, trying to get her to leave Roberto, and that's because he is the I don't know what the word is. Not power of attorney, but like the executor of the will, I guess. Is that the right word,
or he's the
term
next
for
of
it?
kin, like with or rather if I might be mistaking this, but if they're out of the picture, then he is the next to receive the money, or
okay, hold on.
Not to get too ahead of the plot.
Hold on. Let's back up like 5 seconds or 5 minutes before this scene. So we learn that Beatriz has a twin sister.
Yes.
By the name of Julieta,
Yes.
who is Juan Camaney's love interest.
Oh yeah. He ends up finally stalking his way to her.
Yes.
Yeah.
and then we learn that Fernando is his godfather.
Yes.
Is Beatriz and Julieta's dad.
Yeah.
Who has died and has left. I don't know if that's power of attorney or executor of a will or he
either
controls
way
something.
he has the will.
He has the will, and he basically is paying Julieta. Like she gets checks from him throughout the movie.
He says, like I'm your accountant or something.
Yeah,
to that degree, right?
And so I don't know how he found her, but so he's giving her money, and now he's trying to get Beatriz and Julieta together. Because when they turn 30, they get 100% of the money, right? Or if they meet each other, they get 100% of the money, and if they die, then the money goes to Fernando.
Right.
Is kind of how I understood it.
Yes, that sounds right.
And so the whole, I guess we finally learned that he's been scheming both of them to get them together so that he can basically kill them.
Get rid of them.
Yeah.
And that's why he's also the serial killer of the prostitutes, right? So that's he's living the nightlife, killing these chicks, but
with a small penis.
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah.
Well, the first girl died because of it.
Yes.
Ya estuvo. Solo tengo que terminar de ganarme la confianza de Beatriz.
Así que esta es la hermana de Julieta, ¿no?
Así es. Y lo curioso es que ninguna de las dos sabe de la existencia de la otra.
¿Y eso cómo está?
El papá de ellas fue mi padrino. Se peleó con su esposa y al separarse, decidieron dividirse a las hijas. Luego se cambiaron de ciudad perdiéndose la pista.
Así que tú eres el almacén de la fortuna del viejo, ¿no?
Mi padrino al final de su vida se hizo muy rico. Y arrepentido, buscó a su familia por todo México sin suerte. Y al sentirse morir, me dejó a mí para que cuidara la fortuna de Julieta.
Uy, a buen santo se arrimaron, ¿no?
El viejo sabía que Julieta está un poco loca. Así que el testamento dice que yo administraré su fortuna hasta que ella tenga 30 años.
Uy, eso sí va a estar medio grueso, ¿eh? Va a dilatar mucho, ¿no?
Sí. Hasta que Julieta cumpla 30 años. O se reúna con su hermana Beatriz.
Eso sí puede pasar en cualquier chico rato.
De acuerdo con la ley, entre las dos pueden administrar su fortuna. Eso sí yo lo permito.
¿Sabes qué? El diablo se ha de parecer a ti, ¿no? Una última pregunta, pendeja. ¿Y si las muchachas se mueren, a quién se le queda la fortuna?
¿Por qué crees que te saqué de la cárcel, idiota?
Yeah, so I mean, with all of that information, that kind of drives the last half of this movie, where it's trying to get Julieta to love him, trying to get Julieta to leave Roberto, trying to get them together so he can kill them both and get the money. It's essentially what it boils down to, right? And then after that, it's the three of them, Juan, Roberto, and Tun Tun, are trying to,
break into the
house, trying to figure out who the fuck this guy is. Like, fuck this guy, he stole my girl, and then at the same time they find out why. Right?
Yeah. Which there's within this whole action climax, there's a great little moment I wanted to shout out where
absolutely,
Juan has his Mickey Mouse tee on.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the whole time I'm kind of like waiting for this moment, but not really thinking that they would ever make anything out of it. But he's like gonna fight a guy, and he takes off his Mickey Mouse shirt to reveal his Superman tee underneath. And then just
soy Superman.
Yeah. Which I just can't believe they did a callback to that. That was like the tightest thing ever.
But there's a lot. So I guess to me the funnier half of this movie was the second half when the shit starts hitting the fan, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So like Roberto, I guess he loses his job, right? So him and Tun Tun are now doing the Aztec.
Call back to the first movie.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't remember what I don't know. I should have.
I know. I forgot too. I know what you're talking about. But yeah.
So they're spinning around on the ropes or whatever, and then. The rope breaks and Roberto flies through a window
intentionally.
Intentionally,
right?
Well, before that, he does it twice.
Yes. Yeah, twice.
The first time was an accident.
Because
he lands into the apartment of Juan's punk ex-girlfriend.
Oh, of course.
And he loses his memory.
Yeah, he gets like amnesia.
Oh, yes, sorry, I conflated those moments, and there is a third within the second time that they do it.
Exactly.
Yes. No, that is him losing his memory is so classically funny, and I love that they just like it's one of those things that was a little shoehorned in there, but like it works for the comedy so well.
It was fucking hilarious because then he turns into a punk rocker.
Yeah,
like
out of nowhere. She just dresses him, and then they're going out like that.
The next time you see him and he's in that getup is it's priceless.
And so that's where Fernanda sees him and tries to apologize and do the ex-girlfriend thing. Look, can we still be friends? You know. And he's like, man, I don't even know who the hell you are. So that's when she's like, all right, fuck this fool.
Yes.
I'm going full time with Fernando.
Right.
And then we get a full-fledged Hugo Stiglitz ass shot. He's having sex with Beatriz. And I don't know, man. I think there's a part where if you freeze frame it, you might even get like a full dick shot.
You see a little bit of his dick, definitely.
So for the ladies who are Hugo Stiglitz obsessed, you get this movie, you freeze frame it. I'm almost positive you'll see his dick.
I don't remember that, so I have to look.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I want to look, but but okay, no, interesting.
Hey, look, there's gonna be a girl listening that's like, ooh, Stiglitz, that's my shit.
Yeah.
Is gonna want to see his dick. So.
All right, yeah.
It's there. I do remember it.
Maybe there's guys that want to see his dick too. I don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so, but anyways, so then it happens again because now they're trying to figure. There was another prostitute who was killed, who Juan Camané had kind of ran into, and realized that Fernando had picked her up, and he put two and two together, like, oh, it's fucking Fernando. He's the killer of all the prostitutes.
Yes.
And that was the same girl that Roberto was earlier in the movie too.
With at the brothel.
Yeah, at the brothel.
Yeah, exactly.
That was Arlette Pacheco, by the way. Beautiful woman.
Beautiful. All the women in all these movies are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, that was Arlette Pacheco.
Yeah, she was absolutely gorgeous.
Nice tits. I'll just flat out say it. I'm just to say it, guys. Sorry. Nice tits.
Hey, the movies are problematic, and the guys talking about the movie. Well, not all the guys, but some of us are problematic.
Yeah.
I don't want to lump Drew into get in trouble with his wife.
Yeah, Drew's married. Yeah.
He's married. We don't want to get him in trouble.
Yeah.
So.
Drew didn't say nothing.
He's not laughing. I promise. He's not laughing. But yeah, so then that's the second time where they use that pole to shoot him into.
But now they use it intentionally.
Yes. And that's when Tun Tun realizes, like, oh, I got an idea. I know how we can get into his house. And then so that's when they figure out that Fernando has the will. And there's a funny scene in there where he's like, check this out, I got the will. And he shows Juan the thing. He goes, 2 kilos of meat, a kilo of tomatoes.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, oh, no, not that. Oh, okay. That shit had me dying.
Yeah, that's so funny.
It's like the silly things like that are what get me.
It's
like
just the way they say it and the way they're just going about it. It's great. It's clever.
Yeah, great timing. Great.
And then he hits him with
timing.
like the orgy.
Yes.
He's like, all right, go get another girl and we'll fucking we'll have an orgy. We'll have a foursome. He's like, she's dead, idiot. She's dead.
Ya estás hasta loco.
Leticia.
¿Dónde está?
Arriba.
Ah, pues tráetela y que se traiga otra vieja y hacemos un 4.
No puede, está muerta.
Ahí arriba, me caí encima.
Ah, muerta. ¿Muerta?
Sí, güey, voy por la policía.
No, espérate, no mames, ¿cómo le vas a avisar a la policía? Esos güeyes van a pensar que yo la maté. ¿No te acuerdas que yo le robé la bolsa?
Sí, es lo malo de tratar con delincuentes. Está acá adentro y con el calor que hace. ¿Qué vamos a hacer?
Hay que encontrar a ese cabrón de volada antes de que siga matando viejas.
Lee esto.
1 kilo de carne, 2 kilos de jitomate.
Ah, chinga, esto no es. Ahí está.
Ay, güey. Ese es el testamento del papá de las viejas.
Pues claro, si este güey lo tiene porque sabe que las dos son hermanas, por eso las quiere matar para quedarse con la herencia. A ver, ¿qué vamos a hacer?
Ya sé qué voy a hacer.
¿Qué vamos a hacer?
Voy a seguir tragando porque tengo un...
I don't know. I mean, the hijinks in this movie, like
next level.
Yeah, next level. And that's, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it. That's how I described it to you, Drew. Was that these are like, you know, slapstick comedies that are just like rapid fire jokes. They're just joke after joke after joke after joke.
Yeah, the beats are comedy beats. You know, I think that's like, and they rest upon a good story, and that's like essential for any movie for any genre to work. You need a good story that drives everything, and then you make sure the beats are comedy beats, and they do, and there's plenty of them, and there's plenty of jokes, and all kinds of types of jokes too. It isn't just gags, physical comedy or anything like that, and that's kind of what really makes something like this special and kind of timeless, I would say.
And so, I mean, that leaves us with the finale of the movie, right? The final showdown.
Yeah, it's another same thing like the first movie. They all fight, and then, you know, all ends well for everybody. A party or whatever, a celebration at the construction site.
Yeah, they're having like a pachanga at the construction site where they're fucking dancing.
Yeah, and then
they're
rather
throwing
than
cakes at everyone.
Yeah, and then rather than like having a group performing like in the first one, they're just singing themselves. Yeah, they have like their own little song number in the movie,
which was great.
Oh yeah.
There was a scene in this movie that I wrote it down because I saw it and I was like, holy shit. You know, I know that Adolfo's a fan of a lot of international movies, so maybe he had seen this movie and thought it would fit to the theme of being like a serial killer. But in the scene where Fernando kills Leticia, you know, he has her in his house and he fucking kills her. She's trying to run away. There's a scene where she flies down the stairs, and to me, I thought it was a straight up rip of Halloween. So you see the shot of you're looking up the stairwell, and Fernando shows up like doo-doom, like looks over the shit, and then he's like walking down the stairs with his knife to go finish the job against Leticia.
Yeah.
I don't know. It stood out to me as like, holy shit. That was like, and I don't want to say a scene for scene, you know,
and I know
still,
yeah,
but
yeah, what you mean. More than likely, yeah.
I could see it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like adding it just to add like a horror appeal to it. I don't know. It's like, I mean, it was shot really well. It's like it's dark, but the use of shadows in that scene and just like the way he was like maneuvering around the house and shit. I don't know. I thought it was executed really well.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Well, that leaves us with the third movie.
Ooh, this one is the craziest one, I want to say. What do you guys think? I thought it was more wild than the Albaniles movie, honestly.
So I thought I think this might be my favorite of the three.
It might be two for me.
A lot of people love that movie.
Should you guys do a little intro for this film? Or
yeah, sure. The title is Tres Lancheros Muy Picudos, right? Again, directed by Adolfo Martinez Solares, written by Adolfo and his dad Gilberto.
A lanchero, for those who don't know, that's a boat driver, a boatman.
Right.
Low level job. You know, all he does is just drive a boat for a rich person, basically.
Yeah.
Can I ask too, before we get too deep into this film? I was curious. Could you tell me a little bit about like Frontera Productions?
Oh yeah, Frontera Films. Yes.
Because all three of these are Frontera.
These are all Frontera Films, and that was a production company.
That's their production house, right?
Yeah, that Adolfo founded. Well, Gilberto founded it with Adolfo. And then he founded it with a guy named Santos Soberon. Santos Soberon was a chemist professor from when Adolfo was going to school and in college. And Alejandro Soberon, that's Santos' son. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Santos was very interested in making movies, since he knew Adolfo, got very close to him and the dad. And he's like, hey, I have money, I want to, make movies. I was like, hey, well, let's start a production company. Frontera Films was born. And the reason why it's called Frontera Film is because they were making like border dramas at the time. Their first 2 movies, when they all made Frontera Films, it was just stuff that was set in the Texas border, Mexico border, yeah. But of course, it shifted back to Mexico.
For sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
As I'm sure a lot of listeners are starting to get, a lot of this is family affair.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, very much.
Yeah, you have one guy and it's his entire family or his bloodline that are producing it, writing it, shooting it.
Yep.
It's all in the family.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. The little boy in the movie, that's Adolfo's son.
His son,
right?
Yeah.
Oh no way!
Yeah, little boy in the movies are. Yeah,
oh, he was so funny.
Yeah.
Okay. I had some of those questions I wanted to get.
Oh no, yeah. I'm glad you said that because that was actually the top of my list. I wanted to speak about it. And I just completely forgot about it in the shuffle of talking about everything. So one thing too, I thought the cinematographer of this movie was the same guy who shot Mujer de los Dos, which is the episode we did, episode 6 that we did on the Los Bukis movie. So for those who have listened, you would know that because Adolfo also did that movie. So again, look, lots of tie-ins, guys, lots of tie-ins.
Totally.
Take notes, pay attention, man. All right, so let's break down a little bit of the actors here, right? Alfonso Zayas is back in this movie. Roberto is back. He's back again. It's the same character, right? Hugo Stiglitz, he's back again.
Yep.
This time his name is Hugo, not Fernando.
Yes.
We have Tun Tun, of course.
Bring him back.
Yeah, exactly. He has to come back. And then we have the introduction of Cesar Bono, who his character's name was Armando.
Yeah.
Classic comedian.
Great name, by the way. Wink, wink. No, I'm just kidding.
That's why he wanted to talk about the movie.
I see.
And then the love interest in this one is Lina Santos, who's she's
beautiful.
Again, absolute gorgeous.
Yeah.
And again, she's well known for doing these ficheras as well, and she's just.
This is where she started, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like her. I wouldn't say her first leading role, because her first leading role was a Frontera Films movie. It was just Tres Mexicanos Ardientes. But this one, I think she really does show her acting skills more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's just not there, looking pretty. Like, she's actually here playing somebody. So that's what I liked about her in this movie.
Yeah, she has like a full-fledged role in this movie. She's not just like a lookie.
Yeah, she's kind of there in the first movie, the Tres Mexicanos Ardientes. But here, she really does act, and it's like, okay, she's actually a really good actress. Beautiful woman, too.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
And as beautiful as she doesn't get naked. She's the one that never gets naked in this movie.
Totally.
Yeah, you're right, actually, now that I think about it. She does not get naked.
She never wanted to do nudity. That was her one condition. She'll be in these movies, but she's not going to get naked. She'll wear lingerie, a bikini, but she's not going to take it off ever. That was her one rule.
Woman empowerment, man.
And it worked out. I mean, either way, like, men still fucking love her, obviously.
Totally.
She did not even have to take her clothes off.
There you go. See, we don't always need you to get naked.
Yeah.
Stimulate our minds, make us laugh, make us work for it.
Exactly.
Not being facetious either.
Yeah.
So the basic premise of this movie is how do you break this down? This is
well, it's a classic suitcase swap of a setup.
Yeah,
if you will. Drug money accidentally taking the bag of
the
luggage
wrong suitcase.
And then the antics all kind of stem from that.
Yeah.
But if you'd like to talk more about the actual,
Oh yeah, we could definitely start off. I mean, there's a lot of like you said, all three of the characters have their own little struggle in this movie, right? So they all have their own, battle to face or whatever. But we can break those down too as we move along. But I mean, there's a lot of cool shit. Like, it opens up with like really cool shots of because they shot this in Acapulco, right?
In Acapulco, around the Guerrero.
And so there's a lot of like the intro is like a montage of like fucking water sports, fucking water skiing and shit like that. Now, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was a dude in blackface in this movie. Did you notice that?
I think so. Yeah.
He's in that opening scene. He's one of the three guys on the boat.
Oh yeah.
I saw that like.
I couldn't tell if it was just like a lower res or like.
Yeah.
And there are definitely some slurs thrown at him for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this movie, Roberto, who is Alfonso Zayas, he's creeping on the girls. You know, he's the ladies' man in this one. You know, kissing them all over the. You know, he's got him in the pool. He's like, he ends up kissing a guy, and he's like, oh shit, yeah. So, you know, again, problematic. Yeah, I'm not gonna tiptoe around that, but
it's like in how he was casted in the second one. He's playing against type. You know, he's this overboard Lothario sort of character.
And there's a funny kind of funny callback to Albaniles too, where someone that's attached to ropes gets detached and flies through a building in this one. So Hugo Stiglitz is like paragliding on the beach in Acapulco. Yeah. And somehow the ropes get cut, and he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" He's like, he ends up flying over the town and flies into a building.
I feel like this movie breaks reality. It's like, okay, he wouldn't have survived that, but here it's like getting care. It's like, no, we're just fucking around here.
It's an interesting kind of genre comedy type of film, like a crime comedy, sex comedy thing. I think it adheres to its rules a little bit more than I would say Bricklayers 2 did, but I think Bricklayers 2 had a better like recipe about itself. But I do think, like, going back to that Walter Hill, you know, idiom of the jokes are funny and the bullets hurt, like it plays to those rules. You know what I mean? These guys are trying to get their money back and they will fucking kill you. You know, it is like a Narcos movie at certain points, you know, kind of like how like For All the Gringos, like Dumb and Dumber is still like a crime comedy.
I'm glad you said that, because you know, when you texted me the other day, I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I want to see if you bring it up. That's exactly what I was hoping you were going to bring up.
Actually. Yeah. Another suitcase, accidental swap of suitcase movies. And the gangsters will kill you, you know, like
bag swap, drug money or you know, hush money also involves a girl. And so, I mean, I don't know, man. The whole time I kept thinking, this is fucking Dumb and Dumber.
Totally.
Up,
Almost. This is like pre-Dumb and Dumber.
It is pre-Dumb and Dumber. Yeah. Dumb and Dumber was what, 90?
95, 94.
It was one of those Jim Carrey years, you know.
And this movie is 89. Yeah. So it predates Dumb and Dumber. But like you said, I mean, it's kind of a classic story swap. But,
yes.
I don't know. The whole time I kept thinking, like, damn, this is straight up Dumb and Dumber. Like, the criminals are following them. They keep running away, not even realizing that they're being followed, you know. And then they realize, like, oh shit, like towards the end, like, oh, we got to get out of here. So I don't know. It's I thought it was hilarious. I don't know.
Oh, me too. Absolutely. I think, it is grounded within that recipe, I will say, for the outrageous, I guess, gags that you would get from a movie like this, that it still goes there, you know, like you were saying with Hugo flying through on his loosened parasailing device. It's a great payoff when we see him later. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, it's still kind of like, it doesn't do it just for nothing. Like, it's earned on the flip side of that coin.
And it's just funny, like the scene where the criminals finally realize that their money has been stolen or swapped or whatever.
It's so good.
There's like they went to go do a drug deal.
It's within the deal itself.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And with the intention of ripping the drug dealers off, they get ripped off. When they open up the bag, they realize, oh, it's nothing but like lingerie, and fucking underwears and all kinds of shit. And then
then they read the love notes. Right?
Exactly. That's how they find them. Yeah. But then it's like the guys are like kung fu fools that have like a shootout and like that was bonkers, man. It's like
this movie is just all over the place, but in the best ways possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's highly entertaining. Yeah. There's nothing about this that people aren't gonna like, I think.
And none of the movies are too long. I think some of the bits might go on too long, but like that's just how certain movies age. I think each movie has a 90-minute runtime, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So like
about 90 minutes,
they move along at a great clip.
And I think so, like, you know, once these drug dealers realize that their money's been stolen or whatever, and then Roberto and Armando realize, oh shit, like, what the fuck? They open up their bag and they realize there's like I don't know how many millions of pesos that are in there. and Armando has the idea like, well, fuck it, let's double our money.
Yeah.
They go to the cockfight.
Yeah.
Well, even before this, he has to convince him that this is good luck.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And I
you're
think
right,
if you do
right.
like a little clip, like you should do a clip of this scene because it's one of those things where like this is one where I didn't have the best subtitles, but like the acting, I'm sure you could like read it on a script and you'd be like, okay, he's saying all the things, but Armando, the guy who plays him, he sells it like so hard, like the 777 you know, like he's like pointing out all the things and he's got that like crazy voice, you know what I mean, and he's like really giving it, and like you don't need subtitles to understand that like this guy is really passionate about what he's trying to fucking, you know, persuade his buddy to go through with, and he succeeds, you know, and
and then the funny part is when they end up losing all the money in the cockfights, he goes, "Hey, well, I didn't fucking tell you to do shit."
Yeah, of course, that's the best. That is the best payoff.
You decided to do this, not me. I don't know what to say.
Mira, yo lo que quiero decirte es, ¿qué soy?
¿Eres un pendejo?
No, no.
Ah, ¿cómo no?
Mira, mira. No, no te digo que qué soy, te digo que qué día es hoy.
Ah, es domingo 7 de julio.
Pues ahí está, compadre.
¿Ahí está qué?
¿Cómo que qué? Domingo es el séptimo día. Día 7, julio es el séptimo mes, ahí está.
¿Qué chingados está, compadre?
¿Cómo que qué? 7, estamos de suerte, hermano.
Ah, sí.
Dime una cosa, ¿cuánto dinero traes en esa bolsa?
$70,000.
Pues ahí está el 7 otra vez.
Oye, ¿de veras?
Mira, para concluir, dime cuál es el número de la placa de tu automóvil.
Ay, sí te falló, compadre.
¿Por qué?
743.
Pues no me falló.
¿Por qué?
Mira, 7. Ahí está. Luego 4 y 3.
7.
Pues ahí está, si yo te sumo lo que quieras.
¿Qué pasó?
Dime una cosa, ¿esto es algo divino, sí o no, hermano? ¿Crees en Dios?
No, no metas a Dios en esto.
No, lo que quiero decirte es esto. Estas oportunidades se presentan solamente una vez en la vida. Dime una cosa, aquel gol, ¿por qué lo anotó Hugo Sánchez?
¿Por qué, compadre?
Porque la pelota pasaba por ahí y él estaba ahí.
¿Fue por eso?
Claro que sí, compadre. Y nosotros estamos aquí, enfrente del palenque que tiene el número 777.
Sí, cierto.
¿Tú traes una feria, sí o no?
70.
Vamos, la apostamos, ganamos una lana. Tú le regresas los $70,000 a su dueño. Nos quedamos con una feria. ¿A quién perjudicamos? ¿A quién le hemos hecho daño?
No, pues dicho así está toda madre.
Compadre, ¿dónde vamos?
Al palenque.
¿Nos echamos uno?
No, no sea alburero.
No, hombre, estoy hablando de los gallos. Te voy a hacer rico.
It's funny you brought up like the dubbing on that. I don't know if you know why, Armando, but like the dubbing in all three of these movies, like the villains always have like that raspy ass voice. And I know Tun Tun's voice was like a high pitched voice.
Yeah, that wasn't even Tun Tun's real voice. Like, there's hardly any movies with his real voice other than like the old stuff from back in the day.
So was that like the joke? Like they would give him a deep voice, or like that was just?
I don't know if that was done for comedy aspects. I mean, I
think it was because it was the guy that did the voice was Ruben Moya, and he used to do a lot of voice acting for cartoons over there, like Spanish dubs for He-Man. I think a little bit of the Simpsons too, and then like other movies, you know, like from that were in English, he would translate them to Spanish. So yeah, he was very famous for that. And he was the voice of Tun Tun for the most part, and then all those other villains too for the most part. It's like I think they wanted it to be more funny, so they're like, "Hey, can you just like, you know, give a little exaggeration,
a little panache?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that was him right there.
I really like the voice of Chiquilin. Is that his real voice?
That's a good question, and I think it is actually.
Get on the way.
It actually, yeah. If I recall, that is his real voice. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's hilarious that the villains all have like that super deep like
raspy. That's all Ruben Moya for the most part, and Tun Tun especially. I know for sure Tun Tun, that was not his voice. That was Ruben Moya.
Yeah, Cesar Bono, who plays Armando, his voice is like
that's
like,
his voice.
Right
there.
Yeah, it's his voice.
Oh, there's no voice like that.
Yeah, that's all him for sure. Yeah, he even still talks like that to this day.
He sounds like he's on a sick one like the whole time.
Yeah.
Hey, you wanna?
Yeah, it's just very raspy and like loud and
Yeah.
That's him. Yeah. Sounds like his fucking his throat is probably he needs some hot tea and some honey or something.
He needs some more blood.
For sure.
And yeah, I mean, there's like a funny scene too. Like, so I guess when they lose all the money and realize that they need to either get some money or they need to fucking skip town, they decide, fuck it, we're just gonna leave town. And they get on the bus and they're like, they're like reading love letters that from Roberto and what was this girl? Rosario, was that the name of the character?
I believe so. I know the actress was Rosario Escobar.
I think it was. I think her name in the movie was Rosario as well. But yeah, it was funny. There's like older ladies in the bus. Everyone's getting turned on.
Yeah,
everyone's listening. Yeah, there's a great wide of them in the like foreground, and then all the bus members are all flocking him, listening over their shoulders.
And then they show up to like I guess someone that Armando thought could be like their hideout or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Turns out she's married and has like the fucking buffest husband of all time.
Yeah.
And he's like
the boxer.
Yeah, exactly. Beats their ass and shit.
Yeah.
And again, it all just kind of plays into the hijinks of these characters. Like they're stupid as fuck and always think that they're doing the right thing, but it always ends up being the wrong thing to do, right?
Yeah. Yo soy Armando. Armando el acapulqueño, el del chafalote enorme. ¿No te acuerdas? ¿No te acuerdas del revolcadero, vida? Que ahí estabas diciéndome, ya no, papá, ya no, ya no.
Ya decía, ya no.
Aquí hay una equivocación. Yo ni siquiera lo conozco.
Dama.
Llévese a su amigo, por favor.
Compadre.
Roberto, ¿no será amnésica?
No, si es una hija de la chingada, compadre. Ni lo conoce, ni se acuerda del chafalotón.
Váyanse antes de que venga mi marido, por favor.
¿Marido?
No, pues ese sí le toca a usted, compadre.
Pero si me dijo que era viuda.
No, que era beoda.
No entiendo nada.
¿Qué pasa, mi vida?
Nada, mi amor.
¿Quiénes son estos pelagatos?
Unos señores que me están confundiendo con alguien seguramente, mi amor.
Este sí nos alcanza para los dos, compadre. Mire, señor, sucede que mi compadre y yo tuvimos...
Usted se calla.
Yo me callo.
Pero tiene razón mi compadre. Aquí hubo una equivocación muy grave. Un error muy lamentable. Mire, siento haberlo interrumpido. Siga usted entrenando, Dios lo bendiga. Tiene usted una gran mujer. No. A mí ni me calles, ¿eh? Esto no te lo voy a perdonar nunca, Adriana.
Un momentito. ¿Cómo sabe su nombre?
Ay, pinche compadre.
Bueno, la verdad, yo no sé cómo se llama. Lo que sí, que le veo la cara como de Adriana.
¿Ese es?
Luego, su ropa como de Adriana.
Ándale.
Luego, las chichis como de Adriana.
Así que le conoce todo.
Ay, pinche compadre.
Esta es una afrenta que no puedo perdonar. ¡Defiéndase!
Está bien. Pero quiero que sepas que este pleito va a ser entre dos hombres.
Eso es.
Chingueselo, compadre.
¿Qué pasó, compadre?
No sea culero, compadre.
¿Por qué si yo ni le conozco a la chicha, la pinche vieja?
Usted nomás recuerde una cosa, compadre. El jab para tener lejos al animalote.
Bueno, pues hágase para allá porque voy a descontar este voy. Órale. Chingas.
No lo puedo creer. Tan grandote y tan pendejo. ¿Cuántas veces te tiene que decir
¡A este lo mato!
Que tenga...
¿Se aventaría el otro round, compadre?
And correct me if I'm wrong, Armando, but I mean, obviously it was shot in Acapulco, but did they end up shooting this in Mexico City as well? Because I mean, they leave Acapulco because
Yeah, I think like the houses and then the brothel or so called. I think it's Mexico City if I recall.
And that's where we get Lina Santos' character.
Yeah.
She shows up, and apparently she was Roberto's past love,
right?
So somehow this fool is always pulling the babes, man. He's got game or whatever. But she basically she takes him into like her brothel. And,
because she's like a madam now. Like I think before she was like a prostitute that he knew or something.
Well, she was still turning tricks though, because like he was getting jealous. Like, hey, what the fuck? Why are you gonna be in there for 30 minutes? Like you said, you didn't love these guys. And, so he definitely has like.
He has like feelings for her.
Yeah, of course. I mean, why wouldn't you? She's fine as shit, but. Because Tun Tun is also, I mean, he has like his separate arc. Like he leaves as well, but he separates from Armando and Roberto a little bit, and then him and Armando kind of team up. They have their own little hijinks.
Well, because for a good length of the film, he's flying on their tail, right?
Oh yeah, he's like joining them. He's like, hey, I'll be there. I just need to get there,
And then
I have a Frenchman that can let me borrow his plane. Or something.
Oh yeah, that shit was hilarious.
Crash landing in front of Armando, right? And
in the park, they just crashed down.
And what was the deal with the scene where Tun Tun and Armando they were like in a clothing store and they're like fondling like the mannequins and shit? Like,
oh yeah.
Were they trying to get a job or were they posing as like employees of the store or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, they're just in there, and then they're just messing around, and then the owner of the shop, who's played by Adolfo, by the way, another director.
I thought so.
cameo.
Well, because don't they say like he
Yeah.
looks like a movie producer?
Yeah, that's
that
the
I
funny
knew
part.
or
Yeah,
something
so
like
after that happens, he's like, that guy looks like a director. He's like, he's a total badass. And it's like, oh, that's Adolfo.
Shameless self-plug.
Yeah, self-plugging. Yeah.
But it was funny because in that scene, they're grabbing the mannequins, throwing them over or whatever.
Yeah,
and
Armando
he ends
does
up-
it first,
Yeah.
and he goes from under the crotch and lifts it, and then so Tun Tun does the same.
He ends up
But
grabbing a
it's-
real
yeah.
girl.
Just a bunch of little hijinks like that. But it's so funny. It's
So
not even.
funny.
It's not even stupid. It's just like funny. It's
Yeah.
And then they decide to just go to a fucking blood donation center to sell their blood for
Oh
money.
yeah, they're
because-
just like, we'll just donate some blood. We'll get paid, and then turns out it's like vampires.
Yeah.
They start because they keep going so often that
Yeah.
they start to envision them as Dracula
vampire,
type.
yeah.
Yeah, they're having like visions and shit. They're going a little crazy from losing too much blood. I don't know. That shit was hilarious. to me.
So funny.
But yeah, so then and then like Roberto becomes a gigolo, right? He's working
Yes.
with Lina Santos' character.
He starts turning tricks.
Yeah, he starts turning
and
tricks.
then what you were talking about,
And he's
you're
like
in there for 30 minutes. That's flipped.
Yeah.
She's outside with the car, and
Yeah,
why is
and
this
he's like,
taking so long?
excited because he thinks he's gonna get with a hot girl, but then no,
It's like-
he's
It's
like
the
with
classic
the old,
thing,
he gets with
you
the
know.
old woman. He's like,
Yeah.
ah,
It's like the Joe Buck Midnight
Yeah.
Cowboy type thing, and all the gigolo jokes.
yeah, exactly. All the gigolo jokes right here.
Yeah, she tells him like, oh, like you're ugly as shit, and he goes, yeah, but I got a nice ass. Yeah, again, man, like if you guys, the people who have seen this movie know that these movies, like the jokes are just like one after another, so they're fucking they're on, so you're always laughing on this thing, and they're always dumbass jokes too, just like,
but tasteful dumbass jokes.
Yeah.
You know
Oh,
what
yeah,
I mean? There's
yeah,
a difference
absolutely.
between just like shitty dumbass jokes and like tastefully done dumbass jokes. Like, this is good. This is well done. This is very tasteful.
Well, then you say that, so let's transition to right after that, Tun Tun and Armando end up at a gay bar.
Yes.
And I don't know, is that a tasteful joke scene there?
I think for how it's aged, like it could have been way worse.
Yeah,
It's like how I
that
felt.
is
Like
true,
I was
yeah.
definitely kind of like, oh, here we go. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
they like, so they all get like the place gets raided. It's a drag bar, and they all the cops load them all up into the same van, which is hilarious. And then when they go to there's like a ruckus in the back of the truck, so the cops are like, pull over, we gotta whatever, and so they like open up the doors, and then Tun Tun and Armando like run out, but they're in drag now. You know what I mean? So like it is one of those things where it's like, sure, it's like movies wouldn't go there now, but like they did put them in drag then, and so like that's the sort of stuff like I like think about, and I'm like, okay, well at least they put them in drag. You know what I mean? They're not just like, fuck these, and so like I think that's their way of tastefully at the time addressing these sorts of subject matters. And you know what I mean, like this was all like
the
characters of like talking about Billy Wilder's Some Like It Hot, like they went there, you know what I mean?
That's true.
Drag
Cool.
is like a thing that's always been in comedy up to even now, but like especially in like the 90s, Mrs. Doubtfire and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I was definitely bracing myself for it to be much worse than where it went.
Yeah, and so I guess we kind of jumped the gun a little bit. There's a missing pivotal scene where we learn that who Hugo Stiglitz's character is in this movie. And it turns out that he's the drug lord.
Oh yeah, he just happens to be
It's
the
like,
drug
of
lord.
course he is.
Like,
You know, like
why wouldn't he?
He wasn't
Hugo
just an
Stiglitz
asshole
for a minute in the beginning.
Yeah,
you
he's
know
like,
he's
not,
coming back.
Yeah, he's not just some asshole. He's actually the drug dealer.
Yeah.
He's always the ringleader, man.
Yeah.
He's gotta be, you know. And then of course that leads us to the finale of the movie, which always ends in a fight scene.
There's a fight, yeah.
There's like again, there's kung fu fools. The fools are
Yes.
shooting each other. They're
Yeah.
like
Tun Tun?
dueling with swords.
Tun Tun has like a pickaxe, right? In this one, yeah, he has like a
So,
pickaxe and everything.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah, that's
actually,
the one where he has a pickaxe. Yeah, everyone's fighting. They got like weapons or whatever they can find. He gets like a pickaxe. It's just crazy.
But all's well that ends well, right?
Yes,
The
absolutely.
movie ends and we just spent 90 minutes talking of, or watching a fucking hilarious ass movie.
100%.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like that's all these movies were about. It was just to entertain you. It wasn't trying to bring in a social commentary or try to make you depressed or whatever.
Right.
You're just going in there to laugh,
Yeah.
That's what it was, and that was the comedy at the time, If it's offensive now, I mean, whatever, so be it. But back then, that's what people wanted to see. That's what people were, thought was funny.
Yeah.
So that's what I always appreciate about these movies. It's a product of its time.
Yeah, it's hard to comedies don't get the best rap within rep screenings. I don't think like they really get the chance to shine. It's harder to create the context for an older comedy than it is for like an older slasher or something like that. With you guys, I've joked about how like they'll sell tickets for like a secret slasher marathon, but if they did a secret comedy marathon, no one would show up.
Yeah.
So comedies don't get love in that because it's just the context is everything for comedy. And but if you have that context and you put your head in that mind space, you'll laugh if they're well done, and these movies are well done. This was like my day of watching these three movies was a day I'll never forget. Like it was just glorious, like it was truly like without Trash Mex, without Armando, without Joey, without Mikey planning screenings and everything. Like I would not be able to get the insight into Mexican films that I have gotten. It's just in the US they just the real stuff isn't shown. It's not distributed. There's no history of it. And so to be able to have this day and to have these three comedies handed to me and said, just watch these and we'll talk about them, that is a life-changing event for me.
That's what makes this episode special. It's like we got to show, I don't want to say outsider per se, because I don't know. That sounds kind of weird when I say outsider, but you know what I mean. Someone that's not very familiar with this culture, these films. So it was awesome to hear your thoughts, and then the fact that you actually enjoyed them. I mean, that's great. It just shows you, these guys made a fucking great movie. And
these are great comedies.
Yeah, their mindset.
If you like comedies, they're great comedies.
Their mindset was Mexican people or the Latin people in general, but it's like, hey, everybody else can like these movies too,
Well, that's the thing. Like with Akira Kurosawa was like asked one time, like, how do you, do you go out of your way to make your movies appeal to an international audience? And he said, no, I do the exact opposite. I try to just make a good movie that I'm going from what I know, and then the people end up relating to them. If you look at movies where they go out of their way to make it appeal to an international audience, it doesn't translate. Movies translate. Movies is a universal language, and that's when I said, I might not speak Spanish, but I'm fluent in movies. You can watch these without subtitles and know what's going on.
Exactly.
And
they're well made.
Yeah, and I think a part of it too is like how Armando said, like these movies were catered for like for the naco, right? For the working class man. Yeah. Like you don't have to be a Mexican bricklayer or anything like that to understand what it is to just be human, right? To have to be an idiot, to be in love, to want to love a woman, things like that. So I think that's why, movies like this still work today, because they are super relatable to just the average person. Like you don't have to be, a specific person or from a specific culture to understand like the context of what's happening, like the situations that are happening and stuff. Now, some of the jokes themselves may be, cultural and you may not understand them. But the situations that these characters are in are definitely relatable.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so I mean, I don't know. Any closing thoughts? Like, what do you? I mean, you spoke pretty eloquently.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm glad he said all that.
Oh yeah, those can be my closing thoughts. Again, I absolutely will never forget watching all three of these movies, and I will definitely seek out other films by Frontera. And
I mean, if you do, there is a streaming service that Adolfo owns.
Oh, amazing!
It's called Picardia Nacional, so you can download it on your phone or go on the computer, picardianacional.com. It's like $6, $5, something like that.
I think it's $5.99.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so all his movies are there for the most part. So
that's amazing.
Even the newer stuff that he writes, sex comedies and stuff like that. Yeah. So if you want to see Dia De Los Albañiles again, just go on there.
There you go.
And there's 4.
I was gonna say,
technically there's 4 Albañiles. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a third movie which is set after, during and after the earthquake over there in Mexico that happened over there, And then there's a fourth one, which
That's
wasn't great.
the only one I haven't seen. Is
Yeah, that one is nah, you don't have to watch that one. The third one's pretty good though, yeah, for the most part. But yeah, they're all there. Lancheros, Muy Picudos is on there and more. So Drew, get on Picardía Nacional.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah. I'll be on there too. I'll be on there.
You know, it's a shame that, you know, movies like this probably won't see the light of day outside of Mexico or, you know, Mexican TV.
Yeah.
You know, for horror movie, of course, they get released, you know, all the time. Vinegar is releasing all the Mexican horror stuff like that. But you would hope that someone would find you know, something in these movies to want to release them, because they are, like you said, they're classic comedies. They're hilarious. They may be problematic, but I think any movie in any time can be problematic.
Absolutely.
You know? So I mean, if you look hard enough, you'll find something to complain about.
Oh yeah.
But these movies are worth your time. They're 90 minutes. They're fucking hilarious. They breeze by. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, this features great cast, you know, and of course, like I said, made by people that knew the cinema of that, you know. Gilberto Martinez Solares, for example, legendary Mexican, you know, director.
Yeah.
And then you saw Rey del Barrio, right? Remember?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. See, and that movie's like getting kind of well known now.
Yeah,
so it's like, hey, you
well,
know.
to be fair, when I went to the screening, there was maybe 10 people in the theater.
But even then, it's like, okay, it got restored, and then it's being screened. It's like, okay,
no, that's true. That's true.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's like, all right, let's give more of his movies a chance, you know, his later stuff. And then Adolfo, of course, you know, I always say Adolfo is a great fucking director and writer.
I haven't seen a single one of his movies. I mean, I granted I haven't seen, you know, all of them, but anything that I have seen of his, it has not been bad at all. Yeah. Like they're all good.
Like I think one that you should watch after these would be Mujeres Infieles.
Okay. Yeah, I know that one.
That's not a comedy. It's an erotic drama, but like Adolfo told me, it's based on all the Italian, you know, melodramas that he remembers seeing, you know, from the 70s and 80s.
I see.
You know, it's an anthology story, so it's like, you know, 3 different stories of eroticism, cheating, you know, philanderism. So, you know, if you want to see more of his work, check out that one.
Absolutely.
Mujeres Infieles. And like I said, he's a great director and great writer. He still writes to this day. Not directs, but he still writes. So, same kind of topics. It's about sex. If it's funny, it'll be funny. If it's not funny, it's a serious drama, sex drama, you know. So, yeah. He's a great filmmaker.
Próximamente estrenaremos.
Voy a contarles la historia. Dun, 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 dun. De un caballero de ley que llegó un día cualquiera de los United States. Benito a todo tiraba.